I never expected my life to take the turn it did. I was 38 when I married Daniel, a successful man, 10 years my senior. He was kind, stable, and after a string of failed relationships, I thought I had finally found peace. Daniel had a son, Ethan, from a previous marriage. Ethan was 20 when we got married, polite, distant, and trying hard to adjust to his new family. I didn't expect to become close to him. I didn't even want to. I was his stepmother, not his friend, and certainly not his confidant. But life doesn't care about boundaries. It doesn't care about roles or titles. Sometimes, it just throws you into situations you never imagined you'd face. This is my story, and I still don't know how to feel about it. Ethan lived with us part-time. He was in college but would stay with us on weekends or whenever he was back in town. At first, our conversations were short and surface level. He was always respectful but clearly guarded. Over time, we developed a rhythm. I'd cook his favorite meals. We'd watch movies together sometimes if Daniel was working late. Slowly, Ethan began opening up. We talked about his classes, his frustrations, his dreams. He was smart, ambitious, and deeply thoughtful, the kind of young man any parent would be proud of. I didn't see the line being crossed, not at first. There were little things. The way he'd look at me for a second too long. The way he'd compliment a new dress or notice when I changed my hair. I thought I was imagining it. Maybe I wanted the attention. Daniel was a good man, but he had become increasingly distant, buried in work, tired all the time, and emotionally unavailable. The intimacy we once had was fading, and I felt more like a roommate than a wife. One night, everything changed. Daniel was out of town on business. Ethan had come home unexpectedly for the weekend after a fight with his mom. He seemed upset, and I offered to make him dinner. We sat together in the kitchen, just the two of us, eating and talking late into the night. It felt natural, too natural. After dinner, we moved to the living room and put on a movie, something light-hearted. Somewhere between the laughter and shared glances, I felt a shift. A tension that hadn't been there before. Or maybe it had, maybe I'd just been ignoring it. It started with a touch innocent, on my hand. I remember feeling my heart race. I should have stopped it right there. I should have stood up, created distance, reminded us both who we were. But I didn't. I froze. And then I looked at him, really looked, and saw not just my stepson, but a young man who was looking at me like I mattered. Like I was more than just someone's wife. Nothing happened that night. Nothing physical. But something did change. A boundary was blurred, and we both knew it. The days after were confusing. I felt guilt, shame, and something else I couldn't name. Ethan avoided me for a while. He kept his distance, barely made eye contact. I told myself that was good, that maybe we'd both come to our senses. But it wasn't over. The connection had been made, and no amount of distance could erase that. A few weeks later, we were alone again. Daniel was working late, as usual. Ethan came into the kitchen while I was cleaning up after dinner. He didn't say much, just watched me silently. Then he said, "We never talked about that night." I told him there was nothing to talk about. That it was a moment of weakness. That we were family. But he didn't agree. "You're not my mother," he said. "You've never been." That hit me harder than I expected. I wasn't his mother, but I was supposed to be a role model. An adult. The one who held the line. Instead, I was wavering. Ethan reached for my hand. I let him. For a moment, it felt like the world paused. Then I pulled away and walked out of the room, locking myself in the bathroom and staring at my reflection, wondering who I had become. I thought I could just ignore it. I thought I could pretend nothing happened. But the truth is, you can't undo certain feelings once they've been acknowledged. And you can't unsee the way someone looks at you when it's more than it should be. Over the next few months, Ethan and I drifted apart. He visited less. When he did come by, he barely spoke to me. I thought that was for the best, But it hurt in ways I didn't expect. Meanwhile, things with Daniel continued to decline. Our marriage felt empty, but I didn't have the strength to leave. I didn't even know what I wanted anymore. Then, one afternoon, Daniel found a note. It was something Ethan had written and forgotten to throw away. It wasn't explicit, but it was personal, a confession, almost. A reflection on that night, and how he couldn't stop thinking about it. Daniel confronted me, furious and heartbroken. I denied everything. I told him it was all in Ethan's head. That he had misread things. That I never encouraged it. That was only partially true. I never planned it. But I hadn't stopped it either. And that made me complicit. Daniel never trusted me after that. Our marriage didn't survive. He didn't blame Ethan entirely, but he asked him to stop coming around. Said it was better for everyone. I agreed. Ethan sent me one message after that, a short email, saying he was sorry. That he hadn't meant to ruin my life. That he had genuinely cared for me. I never replied. I didn't know how. It's been 2 years now. I'm on my own, rebuilding my life. I think about that night sometimes, not with longing, but with regret. I think about how easy it is to blur lines when you're vulnerable. How dangerous it is to seek comfort in the wrong places. I'm not proud of what happened. I wish I could go back and make different choices. But I've learned that the past can't be undone, only understood. I tell this story not to defend myself, but to remind others, the decisions you make in moments of weakness can shape your life in ways you never expect. He was just my stepson. I was just his stepmother. And yet, one night changed everything, not because of what we did, but because of what we felt. And sometimes, that's more dangerous than anything else.